My mom forced me to reject a $196,000 job to stay for my sister's anxiety, but I found Dad's hidden files exposed her entire scam in front of everyone. I, a 22-year-old male, never thought I'd be posting my family drama on Reddit, but I need to get this off my chest and maybe get some advice. 2 years ago, my dad died in a motorcycle accident coming back from his night shift. It happened about 3 miles from our house on that dangerous curve by the old gas station. 1 minute he was alive, the next, I'm getting a call at 2 a.m. That changed everything. Dad was honestly the best. Not perfect or anything, but he actually gave a damn, you know? He was the type who'd skip out on overtime to make it to my state competitions for architecture modeling, even when he was dead tired from pulling 12-hour shifts at the construction company. He'd still come to my room and ask about whatever project I was working on. He never understood half the technical stuff, but he'd nod along and ask questions anyway. We had this thing every weekend where we'd work on his vintage Mustang together in the garage. He'd blast these old 80s hair metal songs and tell me crazy stories about the stupid things he did when he was my age. I remember this one time he was changing the oil and telling me about how he almost got arrested for racing some guy on the highway back when he was 17. Mom would roll her eyes and bring us beers. Just one for me, he was strict about that. And those were some of the best moments of my life. Things were pretty normal before the accident. My parents fought like any couple who'd been together for over 20 years. Dad was chill and logical, the kind of guy who'd think through a problem before reacting. Mom was more emotional and would sometimes go from zero to losing it in like 5 seconds. But they balanced each other out, and home was actually a place I wanted to be, not somewhere I was trying to escape from. Everything went to complete chaos after Dad died. Our family just broke. Mom started depending on my younger sister, Emma, a 19-year-old female, in this weird way, and they formed this creepy codependent relationship that pushed me to the outside. Emma became the center of Mom's universe, while I got stuck being the man of the house who had to handle all the responsibilities but had zero say in any decisions. I should probably tell you about Emma. Even before Dad was gone, she was the dramatic one in the family, while I was the quiet kid who spent most of my time working on design sketches and architectural models in my room. She was always out with her friends, posting 500 selfies a day and needing everyone's constant attention. Dad used to keep Mom from giving Emma whatever she wanted, but with him gone, there was nobody to be the voice of reason anymore. I've got a little brother too, Jake, a 10-year-old male, who's probably the only normal person left in our house. The kid's smart as hell, loves building Lego sets and playing chess. He and I get along great because he's like a mini version of Dad, quiet, thinks before he speaks, doesn't make everything into a massive drama. He's pretty much been my sanity anchor in this house for the past 2 years. Since Dad died, I've noticed this pattern with Mom and Emma that just gets worse every month. Every tiny problem in Emma's life becomes this huge family emergency. Like when Emma didn't get into her first choice college, Mom spent 2 weeks calling the admissions office every day and even looked into taking out a second mortgage to make a donation to the school. Insane. Meanwhile, I've been busting my ass trying to keep things together. I graduated with honors in architectural design, worked part-time at a local drafting office to help with bills, and basically became Jake's default parent because Mom was too busy dealing with Emma's constant crises. I'm the one who makes sure Jake gets to school on time, helps with his homework, and makes him dinner most nights when Mom and Emma are out shopping or whatever. Dad had a life insurance policy, but the money disappeared way faster than it should have. Mom always claimed it was going to bills and keeping the family afloat, but I'd see Emma with brand new clothes or the latest iPhone, and it didn't take a genius to figure out where the cash was really going. I never complained though, just kept my head down, worked through college, and focused on my future. Dad always told me education was the one thing nobody could take away from me, so I made sure to nail that part at least. But I could see how Emma manipulates Mom. She's got this whole anxiety thing that magically appears whenever there's something she doesn't want to do. Like she'll claim she's too anxious to get a part-time job or attend morning classes, but then I'll see her Instagram stories of her partying until 4 a.m. with no problems whatsoever. Convenient, right? And Mom just eats it up. Emma's sensitive. She needs support, she'll say. Meanwhile, I'm working 30 hours a week on top of full-time classes, and if I complain about being tired, I'm not being supportive of the family. The point is, our family dynamic has been a mess ever since Dad died, and it's been slowly building to a breaking point. Mom and Emma on one side, me and Jake on the other, and a whole lot of manipulation and guilt-tripping in between. Sorry for the wall of text, there's way more to this story, but I needed to get the background out there first. Anyway, since I graduated college with my degree in architectural design, I'd been applying to firms since January, sending out my portfolio to literally anyone who would look at it. I had a wall in my room covered with rejection emails I printed out. Sounds depressing, but it actually motivated me to keep pushing. Dad always said rejection was just part of the process. He applied to 17 construction companies before he got his first job, so I kept that in mind every time I got another. We've decided to pursue other candidates' email. Then it happened. This international firm, can't say the name, but they've designed some of the most recognizable buildings in major cities, actually called me for an interview. At first I thought it was a mistake or some kind of scam. Why would they want some fresh graduate from a state university when they could hire people from fancy design schools? They had seen my final project, which won a regional competition, and one of their senior partners had been a judge. The interview process was brutal. 4 rounds over 3 weeks, design challenges, portfolio reviews, and a 2-hour panel where 5 partners grilled me on everything. I prepped like crazy, staying up until 3 a.m., researching the firm, practicing responses, and even building a 3D model to bring to the final interview, all while juggling a part-time job, helping Jake with his science fair project, and dealing with Mom's guilt trips about neglecting the family. When the offer call came, I nearly dropped my phone. An $86,000 base salary, a $10,000 signing bonus, and amazing benefits, unheard of for a first job. The catch? It was in Boston, and I was in Arizona. For 24 hours, I was on top of the world, celebrating with my best friend, and even splurging on a drafting pencil I'd wanted for months. It finally felt like all the late nights and sacrifices had been worth it. Then reality hit when I had to tell Mom. I picked a time when Emma wasn't around, thinking it would go smoother without her adding drama. Jake was playing video games in his room. I found Mom paying bills at the kitchen table. "Hey Mom, can we talk for a minute?" "I got some news," I said, trying to keep my voice neutral. She barely looked up from her laptop. "What is it?" "Make it quick. I need to finish these payments before the electricity gets shut off." I took a deep breath. I got offered a job, a really good one, at a major architectural firm. That got her attention. She looked up, and for a split second I thought I saw something like pride in her eyes. Then she asked, "Where is it?" "Boston." The change was instant. Her face went from interested to angry in half a second. "Boston, as in Massachusetts?" "That's not happening." I was prepared for some pushback, but not an immediate hard no. "Mom, this is a huge opportunity. The salary is amazing, especially for someone just out of college. I can send money home to help." She cut me off. "Ryan, I don't think you understand our situation. We're about to lose this house." That stopped me cold. "What? How?" "I thought Dad's life insurance paid off most of the mortgage." She closed her laptop and gave me this look, like I was the most naive person on the planet. "The insurance money is gone. We're 3 months behind on payments. The bank sent a foreclosure notice last week." My stomach dropped. This was the first I'd heard of any foreclosure. "Why didn't you tell me? I didn't want to worry you while you were finishing school," she said, her voice getting that martyred tone I've come to hate. "But the bills have piled up beyond what I can handle. Without your income contribution, we'll end up homeless. Your father would never have abandoned his family like this." And there it was, the dad card. She always plays it when she's losing an argument. "Dad would have wanted me to take this opportunity," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "He always said I should aim for the top firms. That was before he died and left me to handle everything alone," she snapped back. "Things have changed. The reality is, we need you here. I need you here. Jake needs you here." Speaking of Jake, I noticed he'd come into the hallway and was listening. The look on his face broke my heart, a mix of confusion and disappointment. "What about Emma?" I asked. "She's taking a semester off, right? Can't she get a job to help out?" Mom's face hardened. "Your sister is dealing with severe anxiety. Her therapist thinks working right now would be detrimental to her recovery." I had to bite my tongue to stop from saying what I really thought about Emma's convenient anxiety that never seemed to prevent her from going to parties or shopping sprees. "Let me see the foreclosure notice," I said. "What?" "The foreclosure notice from the bank. I want to see it." Mom got flustered. "I don't have to show you our financial paperwork. I'm still the parent here." "Mom, you're asking me to give up a career-making opportunity. I think I deserve to understand exactly what the situation is." She stood up, gathering her laptop. "I don't need you questioning me like I'm lying. Either you're part of this family or you're not. If you go to Boston, don't expect to be welcome back here." She stormed off to her room, leaving me standing there, trying to process what just happened. Jake came over and tugged on my sleeve. "Are you really moving to Boston?" he asked. I ruffled his hair. "I don't know, buddy. It's complicated. I heard Mom talking to Emma yesterday," he said, looking around to make sure Mom wasn't coming back. "They were laughing about some shoes Emma bought, really expensive ones. That didn't sound like a family on the brink of homelessness to me." Later that night, I was in my room trying to figure out what to do when my door burst open. Emma stood there, looking pissed. She lashed out. "Way to go. Mom's been crying for the past hour because you want to abandon us." She dismissed my job offer, insisting I could find work nearby unless I was deliberately trying to abandon them. When I tried to explain that this was about my career, not running away, she doubled down, accusing me of being selfish while claiming we might lose the house. The hypocrisy was glaring. Just the day before, she had flaunted a pair of $400 designer boots on Instagram. When I pointed it out, her face burned with anger, snapping that I had no idea what she was going through, that not everyone could be perfect like me. The argument escalated until she finally spat out that if I left, I shouldn't bother keeping in touch, slamming the door so hard the wall shook. I sat there, feeling like everything was spiraling out of control. The job offer paperwork on my desk seemed to be mocking me. I had 5 days to accept or decline, 5 days to decide between my dream career and my family. I tried calling my Uncle Mark, Dad's brother, but it went to voicemail. We weren't super close, but he was the only adult family member I trusted to give me straight advice. I left him a message asking if we could talk soon. I keep thinking about what would happen if I turned down the job. I'd probably get something local eventually, but nothing close to this opportunity, and once you say no to a top firm, that door usually stays closed forever. But then I think about Jake. Who would look out for him if I left? Mom and Emma are wrapped up in each other. He'd basically be raising himself. And what if Mom is telling the truth about the foreclosure? Could I really live with myself if they lost the house and I was living it up in Boston? I don't know what to do. The pressure is crushing me. This was supposed to be the happiest moment of my career so far, and instead it feels like the hardest decision of my life. That's it for now, I guess. So things got way more complicated after that blow-up with Emma. The next morning, Mom was giving me the silent treatment, making this big show of ignoring me while making breakfast for Emma and Jake. I caught Jake's eye, and he gave me this sad little shrug. I had the day off from my part-time gig, so I decided to do some investigating. I waited until Mom left to take Emma shopping. Seriously, shopping when we're supposedly about to be homeless? And Jake was at his friend's house. The filing cabinet wasn't even locked. Either Mom was sloppy or she never thought I'd check. What I found made my blood boil. First thing, there was no foreclosure notice, nothing even close. In fact, I found mortgage statements showing we were paid 3 months ahead on the house. Dad's life insurance had covered a huge chunk of the remaining balance, just like I thought. Second thing, credit card statements. So many credit card statements. 3 different cards, all maxed out. When I looked at the purchases, it was all stuff for Emma, clothing stores, makeup, electronics. Even a weekend trip to Vegas last month that Mom claimed was a mental health retreat for Emma's anxiety. Over $155,000 in debt spread across these cards. Third thing, and this hit me like a truck, bank statements showing regular withdrawals from an account I didn't recognize like clockwork. $2,000 going out each month with the Memo-E college fund. But Emma wasn't even in college right now. She'd taken a break after her first semester. I took pictures of everything with my phone, put it all back exactly how I found it, and got out of there. My hands were literally shaking. Then I remembered Dad's old laptop. After he died, Mom claimed it was too painful to look at his stuff, so I'd stored it in my closet. I dug it out, charged it up, and prayed I could remember his password. It took me 4 tries, but I got in. Dad was organized as hell about finances. Had everything in spreadsheets. I found a folder labeled Kids Future, and inside were documents for 3 separate accounts. One for Ryan College Career, started when I was born, built up to around $45,000. One for Emma College, started when she was born, about $42,000. One for Jake Education, started when he was born, about $25,000. Dad had been putting away money for us our entire lives. Small amounts at first, then more as he got promoted. All 3 accounts were set up so only he could withdraw funds until we turned 25, unless there was a documented educational expense. But here's the thing. The most recent statement from my account showed a balance of $837. Emma's had $124. Only Jake's was untouched at $25,000, probably because he's still too young for her to claim any educational expenses. Where the hell did over $85,000 go? I sure as hell never saw any of it for my education. I've got $30,000 in student loans to prove it. I kept digging and found Dad's email still logged in. There were exchanges with his financial advisor about these accounts, confirming they were legally set up so Mom couldn't access them without proper documentation. So how did she drain them? I searched through his emails and found correspondence with a lawyer from about 3 years ago. Apparently, Dad had been documenting Mom's spending habits for years. He was worried about how she enabled Emma's increasingly expensive tastes. There were emails about possibly separating their finances, or even considering divorce if Mom wouldn't agree to counseling. This hit me like a slap. I always thought my parents had a good marriage, But Dad had been worried about Mom's spending for years. He'd been trying to protect us kids from her financial irresponsibility. The final email to the lawyer was sent just 18 days before his accident. It said, "I've secured the children's accounts, and I'm ready to move forward with the plan we discussed. I'll tell Sarah Mom after Ryan's graduation next month. It's time." He never got the chance. The accident happened before he could confront Mom. I sat on my bedroom floor, surrounded by this evidence, feeling like my whole childhood was a lie. Did Mom know what Dad was planning? Is that why she seemed to resent me so much after he died? Because I reminded her of him? Right in the middle of my existential crisis, my phone rang. It was Uncle Mark, finally calling me back. "Hey kid, sorry it took me so long to get back to you. I've been on a job site with no reception. Everything okay?" I don't know what came over me, but I just broke down and told him everything. The job offer, Mom's foreclosure claim, what I'd found in Dad's emails, the drained accounts, all of it. There was a long silence when I finished. "I'm coming over," he finally said. "Don't tell your mom I called. I'll be there tomorrow morning." That night at dinner was tense. Mom had apparently decided to stop ignoring me and was now laying the guilt on thick. "I had to cancel Jake's summer camp registration today," she announced to the table. "We just can't afford extras right now." Jake looked crushed. He'd been talking about that science camp for months. "I thought my part-time job money was covering that," I said, trying to keep my voice neutral despite knowing she was lying. "Your contribution barely covers groceries," Mom said with a sigh. "With the foreclosure looming, we have to cut everything non-essential." I wanted to call her out right there, throw the evidence in her face, but Uncle Mark had told me to wait for him, so I just nodded and kept eating. Emma, of course, was wearing a brand new outfit and had her hair freshly done at a salon. Non-essential apparently didn't apply to her. The next morning, the doorbell woke me. When I opened the door, Uncle Mark stood there, looking ready for battle. He turned to Mom, standing in her bathrobe, and said, "We needed a family meeting now." She looked startled, asking why he was there, but he cut her off with a simple answer. I had called him. For the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes as she followed us into the kitchen. The kitchen felt like it was about to explode with tension. Mom sat at the table, clutching her coffee mug like it was a life preserver. Uncle Mark stood with his arms crossed, looking more like Dad than I'd ever noticed before. Emma had stumbled in, half asleep, pissed about being woken up before noon on a Saturday. Jake sat quietly next to me. "What's this about?" Mom asked, trying to sound casual, but her voice had this weird high pitch to it. Uncle Mark pulled out his phone. "I got a concerning call from Ryan yesterday. He told me you claim the house is in foreclosure." Mom shot me a nasty look. "Our financial situation is none of your business, Mark. Or Ryan's, for that matter." "See, that's where you're wrong," Uncle Mark said, his voice scary calm. "When my brother died, I promised him I'd look out for his kids. I've been too hands-off, and that changes today." He put his phone on the table and pulled up photos, the same documents I'd found and photographed. "Want to explain why you're telling Ryan you're about to lose the house when the mortgage is actually paid 3 months ahead?" he asked. Mom's face went white. "You went through my personal papers?" she hissed at me. "Answer the question, Sarah," Uncle Mark cut in. "Why are you lying about foreclosure to manipulate your son into giving up a career opportunity?" Emma jumped in. "Mom wouldn't lie about something like that. Ryan's just trying to make excuses for abandoning his family." Uncle Mark turned to her. "Emma, with all due respect, be quiet. This is between your mother and me right now." Emma looked shocked. Nobody ever told her to shut up. Mom's grip on her mug tightened. "Things are more complicated than they appear. Yes, the mortgage payments are current, but there are other debts you don't know about." "Like these?" I pulled out my phone and showed the credit card statements I'd photographed. 3 maxed-out cards with charges for clothes, makeup, electronics, and a trip to Vegas. "That doesn't look like essential spending to me." "You had no right." Mom slammed her mug down, coffee sloshing over the side. "Mom, you told me we might end up homeless," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "You used that to try to force me to turn down a job that could set up my entire career. I had every right to check if you were telling the truth." Jake was looking back and forth between us, his eyes wide. I felt bad he had to witness this, but maybe it was time he knew what was really going on. "What about the education accounts Dad set up for us?" I asked, changing tactics. "The ones that had over $85,000 combined for me and Emma?" That hit a nerve. Mom actually flinched. "Those were for emergencies," she muttered. "Emergencies?" I said, surprising even myself with the force behind it. "They were specifically for our education. I've got $30,000 in student loans while emergency money was being drained from accounts Dad set up for my college." Uncle Mark took over. Ryan showed me the withdrawal records, regular $2,000 payments marked as e-college fund. Even during months Emma wasn't enrolled in classes. "Where did that money go, Sarah?" Emma was starting to look uncomfortable. Mom, what are they talking about? Mom's face transformed into this weird mix of anger and panic. This is ridiculous. I'm not going to be interrogated in my own home. Mark, you need to leave. Ryan, go to your room. This conversation is over. It's not over, Uncle Mark said quietly. Not even close. I've already talked to the bank this morning. They confirmed that someone used Mike's death certificate and forged documents to gain access to those accounts. That's fraud, Sarah. The kitchen went dead silent. Even Emma seemed to realize the seriousness of what was happening. You wouldn't, Mom whispered, her eyes locked on Uncle Mark. I would, he replied. Unless you start being honest right now. Where's the money, Sarah? Where's the life insurance payout that was meant for the kids? Where's the education fund money? Mom started crying, but it felt performative, like she was trying to shift from being the accused to being the victim. Everything I did was for this family, she sobbed. After Mike died, I was alone with 3 kids to support. You have no idea how hard that's been. So, taking the money Dad saved for our education was for the family? I asked. Maxing out credit cards on Emma's shopping sprees while telling me we're about to be homeless was for the family? Emma suddenly looked like she'd been slapped. Wait, you used my college fund to buy me stuff? Mom rounded on her. Don't act like you didn't know where the money was coming from. All those designer clothes, the new iPhone every year, the spring break trip. Did you think I could afford that on my salary? Emma seemed genuinely shocked. I thought Dad's insurance paid for everything. It did, Uncle Mark said grimly. But not the way you think. He turned to me. Ryan, show them what else you found. I pulled up the emails from Dad to his lawyer. Dad was planning to confront Mom about her spending habits. He was worried about how she was influencing Emma and wanted to protect our financial futures. He'd already moved most of his assets to secure accounts that Mom couldn't access. He was planning to tell her right after my graduation, but he died before he could. Uncle Mark finished. Mom's crying stopped abruptly, her face hardened. Your father was going to leave us, she spat. He was having an affair with some woman at work. I found emails. Uncle Mark actually laughed, but there was no humor in it. Nice try, Sarah. Mike confided in me about everything. He wasn't having an affair. He was working extra shifts to pay off your secret credit cards that you'd hidden from him for years. He was planning to separate your finances, not leave the family. Mom's lie was so obvious, even Emma looked skeptical now. I want to see those emails, I said. If Dad was cheating, show me proof. I deleted them, Mom said quickly, too quickly. Uncle Mark shook his head. More lies. Jake spoke up, his voice small but clear. Mom, did you take my camp money too? You said we couldn't afford it anymore. The heartbreak in his voice nearly killed me. Mom couldn't even look at him. Jake's account is still intact, I told him. Dad set it up so it couldn't be touched until you're older. Your camp money should be there. Jake looked at Mom with such disappointment that she finally broke down for real. Fine, yes, I took the money, she shouted, tears streaming down her face. Mike was going to ruin everything. He was going to expose me to the kids, make me look like the bad guy. Then he died and left me with all this responsibility, and yes, I used the insurance money and the college funds. Emma needed things. I needed things. We deserved some comfort after losing him. Nobody commented on that. Uncle Mark just placed a firm hand on my shoulder and told me to pack my things. I was coming to stay with him while we figured out the Boston job situation. For once, Mom didn't argue, as if she had finally run out of excuses. Emma looked just as lost, like her entire world had been exposed as a lie. In some ways it had. As I stood up, Jake grabbed my arm and whispered, asking if he could come too. That simple question nearly broke me. I looked at Uncle Mark, who gave a small nod, so I told Jake to pack a bag for the weekend, reassuring him we'd sort things out. Before we left, Uncle Mark turned to Mom, saying that the fraud with Dad's accounts was serious and she needed to come clean before things got worse. She didn't respond. 20 minutes later, Jake and I were in Uncle Mark's truck, my drafting table securely tied down in the back. As we pulled away, I felt like I could breathe properly for the first time in years. Now, I have a big decision to make about Boston, and we need to figure out what's best for both of us. Mom hasn't called, which is almost worse than if she had. I half expect her to show up at the door, demanding I come back. Emma hasn't texted either, but I saw she deleted a bunch of posts from social media, including the ones bragging about her latest shopping spree. For now, I'm at Mark's place, trying to wrap my head around everything. We're going to sit down tomorrow and go over my options, Boston, staying here, what this means for Jake. I still don't have all the answers, but for the first time, I feel like I actually have a choice. I took the job. After everything came out about Mom lying, I decided I wasn't going to let her manipulation ruin my future. Uncle Mark offered to let Jake, a 10-year-old male, stay with him while I got established in Boston, and we set up a temporary guardianship arrangement. Mom completely lost it when we told her about the guardianship plan. She went from crying to screaming to threatening legal action in about 5 minutes flat. Uncle Mark shut that down quick by reminding her about the account fraud and how she could be facing criminal charges if we decided to pursue it. That finally got her to back down, at least temporarily. I found a tiny studio apartment in Boston, holy cow, the rent here, and moved my stuff. I made sure to bring my drafting table, the one Dad gave me that Mom threatened to sell. No way was I leaving that behind. Here's where it gets wild. Not even 2 weeks after I moved, the guilt-tripping texts and calls started. Mom went from, "You're dead" to me to, "Please come home, we need you real quick." Every day, it's some new emergency. The basement is flooding, and I can't find the shut-off valve. Emma's car broke down, and she can't get to her therapy appointment. The electricity bill is higher than I expected. It's all designed to make me feel like they can't function without me. Then Emma started in with her own campaign. The first call was actually surprising. She was crying, saying she didn't realize how much I did around the house and how she took me for granted. It almost seemed genuine until she slipped in. "So, when are you coming back this weekend? Mom says you can have your old room back." When I told her I wasn't coming back, that this was a permanent move and a career opportunity, she flipped the script instantly, started yelling about how I abandoned the family and was just like Dad, always putting yourself first. That confirmed I made the right choice. Then, yesterday, Mom pulled her most desperate move yet. She actually called my boss, somehow found the firm's number online and told the receptionist she had an urgent family emergency to get put through. She told my boss that I was needed at home for a medical situation and asked if I could be released from my contract. Thank God my boss is cool. She called me into her office, explained what happened, and asked if everything was okay. I had to tell her the whole embarrassing story about Mom's manipulation. Luckily, she was understanding and actually told me her own mother pulled similar stunts when she first started in architecture. Uncle Mark says Mom and Emma have been driving by his house at night, probably trying to see if they can catch Jake outside or something. He's documenting everything in case we need it for the custody hearing next month. I'm not going to lie, some days are hard. I miss Jake like crazy, though we video chat every night. Sometimes I wake up feeling guilty, wondering if I made the right choice, but then I'll get another manipulative text from Mom or get assigned to an amazing project at work, and I remember why I left. For those wondering about Jake, he's actually doing great with Uncle Mark. He's sleeping better, his grades are improving, and Uncle Mark signed him up for this robotics club he loves. We're making plans for him to visit Boston next month during his school break. I don't know what Mom and Emma's endgame is here. Do they actually miss me, or just miss having someone to manipulate and dump responsibilities on? Either way, I'm staying put. The firm has me working on some amazing projects already, and for the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe. The next step is getting the guardianship hearing over with, and making sure Jake stays in a stable environment. Uncle Mark's lawyer thinks we have a solid case, given the financial fraud evidence and Mom's increasingly erratic behavior. Thanks again for all the advice on my original post. Sometimes it takes strangers on the internet to help you see clearly when you're drowning in family manipulation.